So I have a fun story for you. In August this year, I made around £1,600 on my YouTube channel. The following month, so September, I made almost £4,000 on my YouTube channel. And right now I'm sitting here in the month of October on track to make around £4,000 again from my YouTube channel. So how is it that I went from earning around £1,600 consecutively for a few months all the way to £4,000 on YouTube in the span of 30 days? Well, I'm sure you've guessed it. That is what today's video is all about, so stick with me. But also, if you like this type of content, then be sure to hit the subscribe button because I upload videos like this every single week. Now, the reason why my change in income from my YouTube channel is worth a whole video is because this increase wasn't just a random thing that happened to my YouTube channel. Like, it wasn't like, oh, my videos aren't doing well, oh, and now they are, and there was no reason behind the change, right? This was completely intentional. I noticed that my channel was pretty stagnant and it wasn't doing anything incredible, so I therefore took the time out to come up with a plan of action to revitalize my channel and give it a new lease of life. So I want to break down the exact things and the exact steps that I took in order to get my channel to a place where it's generating over 200,000 views every single month, and also it is now making £4,000 a month. I still can't believe that's the number. I will never get my head around that. All right, so what is the first thing I did? The first thing I did is I headed into my analytics. Now, this is where I recommend anyone start when they are going through a phase where they think their YouTube channel just isn't performing as well as they'd like it to perform, or even if your channel is performing well and you just know that it could do even better. You want to start with your analytics because this is really where you're going to find out what's working and what's not working on your channel. So when I dove into my analytics, I came to a shocking discovery. And that discovery was that my click-through rate was low. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a click-through rate is, it's essentially the percentage of people who see your thumbnail and your video title and who then click on your video as a result of seeing that, right? So if your click-through rate is low, what that means is that there aren't many people who are deciding to watch your video. Now, whilst that has the obvious consequences of you therefore getting fewer views on your video, it also has a bigger consequence, and that's that it impacts YouTube's algorithm and whether or not YouTube is going to push your videos out to more people. Because if YouTube are picking up on the fact that not many people are clicking on your videos, they're going to stop sharing your videos to loads of people, right? Because what's the point? No one's going to click on them. So when I noticed that my click-through rate was lower than usual, I realized that I need to do something about it. I know what you're thinking, right? What's a low click-through rate? And unfortunately, it's difficult for me to tell you what your click-through rate should be without me knowing more information about your personal channel. And the reason why is because a healthy click-through rate will depend on how many people are actually seeing your videos. So let me take you behind the scenes of my YouTube analytics just to show you an example, right? So right now on the screen, what you can see is a graph which is showing you my average click-through rate across all of my different videos for the whole time I've had my account. And you can see that right at the beginning, back in 2020, when I uploaded a short, the click-through rate for that short was 12.2%. That is the highest click-through rate that my channel has ever had. And you might be thinking, well, how did you get such a healthy click-through rate when your channel was brand new? Well, it was because it wasn't being seen by many people. So whilst the click-through rate was 12.2%, the amount of impressions that that short got was 229. And if you compare that to some of my other successful videos now, the amount of impressions I get can vary between 200,000 and 500,000. Therefore, when you're looking at the percentage of people who have clicked on that video, obviously you're going to notice that that's a far fewer percentage. So basically, the bigger you are and the more impressions that your videos get, so the more people who see your videos, the smaller your click-through rate is going to be. So for me, a healthy click-through rate at the moment for my channel is around 5%. And when I looked at my analytics, I realized that I was averaging at like 3%, sometimes even 2%. So what did I do about it? Well, one of the main drivers for having a high or a low or a mediocre click-through rate is your thumbnails. So the first thing I did was I had a look at my thumbnails and I had to think about how I could potentially change them. And I very quickly realized that whilst I loved my old design, it was getting a bit stale. Like, I had consistently used that branding and that design since 2020, and it was actually time for a bit of a refresh. My personal brand had had a refresh within that time, but I had never refreshed the design of my thumbnails. So that's exactly what I did. I made them more modern, I made them more interesting, I made them more aligned with my branding. I worked on the photos that I was including in my thumbnails to make them even more expressive. got the word. And this was the result. So these are like my old kind of design of my thumbnails, and these are my newer thumbnails. And that had a huge impact. Now my average click-through rate is around 5%, which is having a huge positive impact on the overall performance of my channel. So the next thing that I did is I made filming content easier. Now, what I'm about to say may shock you. It won't shock you. It just might go slightly against some of the advice that you've heard in the past, maybe even against some of the advice that I've given you, but I'm not quite sure. I don't think it will go against my own advice, but I think it will go against other people's advice. And it's up to you if you follow it, as always, right? However, I noticed that I was getting to a stage where filming my videos was taking too much time. And the reason why I had got to that point is because I had made a conscious effort to try and improve my videos. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I had the right intention. One of the ways that I wanted to improve my videos was that I wanted to switch up the scenes in between each point that I was delivering, because I knew that could help improve the retention of my videos and also make them more engaging. Now, you could probably find quite a few videos where I'm doing that, and I really hope that I'm able to get back into that practice in the future. But what ended up happening was that my videos started taking twice as long to record, because obviously I was switching scenes, I was getting new angles, etc. Like, it was just difficult. And whilst it did mean that my video quality was slightly better, what it also meant was that I was producing less content. And I had to sit myself down and ask myself this very painful question that all creators have to ask themselves at some point in their career is, what are we going to focus on here? Is it going to be quality or is it going to be quantity? And in order for me to make that decision, I obviously had to look at the data, because I don't make decisions like that lightly. I looked at the data and I thought to myself, okay, the reason why I'm doing this longer way of filming is to help with retention. So let me look at the data behind the videos where I'm switching up the scenes. I want to see, is my retention better on those videos? Are people watching those videos for longer than my other videos where I'm staying in one spot? And I actually noticed that there wasn't any difference. And if anything, my best videos in terms of retention were the ones where I was sitting in one spot. What I realized was that for me, and maybe my niche in general, the thing that's going to help with retention is my delivery of the points that I'm making. It's my communication and it's the pace that I keep up in my videos. So I thought to myself, okay, well, that's what I'm going to focus on instead, because if I focus on my delivery style and the pace of my videos instead of switching scenes, I'll be able to cut my production time in half, which means that I'll be able to produce more content which is still of a high quality. So as always, the tip here is to look at your data, but that's a bit of an insight as to how I worked around that mindset shift of, is that going to affect the quality of my content, and kind of digging deeper into what specifically am I trying to fix here when it comes to the quality of my content. And is that even improving with all this additional work that I'm doing? And the answer was no, it wasn't. The next thing that I did is I revisited a strategy that I used when I first started my YouTube channel. Now, if you're not familiar with my journey, I started my YouTube channel in November 2020. Oh my God, it's like the 2-year anniversary. I just realized maybe I should get like a cake or something. So I started my YouTube channel back in November 2020, and within 6 months I got monetized. 7 months after that I handed in my notice and I quit my full-time job. So things moved pretty rapidly in the grand scheme of things. But when it came to my initial growth, I had around 3 to 4 months where nothing was happening. And then something special happened because I started to make a few changes to my strategy. And one of the things that I did is that I started to focus on finding trending topics rather than just creating videos about whatever I fancied. And how I basically did that is I started to put a lot of energy into validating the video topics that I was choosing. So instead of just coming up with a video topic idea, seeing if someone had created a similar video in the past and seeing if it was popular, I now started looking at other things like, okay, well, how many videos related to this topic have been uploaded in the past year? Is it a relevant video topic now, or was it super relevant a few years ago, right? How many of those videos that have been uploaded in the past year have performed well? And also, how many of those have performed exceptionally well when you look at how many subscribers the creator had? Because when you look at all those different aspects and you look at all of those different factors, that's how you're able to start pinpointing what topics in relation to your niche are actually trending. So through doing that research, I realized, oh my God, I need to make a video about Reels. I need to make a video about Instagram Reels. I think I've only got maybe 1 or 2 in the past. I need to make a new one, and I need to make it good because I know that this topic is trending. So I did that, and the result so far has been insane. It is on over 100,000 views, and I only uploaded it like a month and a half ago, which is insane because my biggest video on my channel has 300,000 views. So for that to already be on 100,000 or over 100,000 in around 6 weeks is incredible for my channel. So that small change of like, okay, let's do a trending video topic every now and again, had a significant impact on the overall health of my channel. The final thing that I did was a bit personal and it was a bit internal. I had to kind of take a look at myself, take a long, hard look at myself, I think that's the phrase, and ask myself, like, is there anything that has changed about me during these months where my channel wasn't performing exceptionally well that maybe I need to work on? And to be honest, the answer was yes. I was working on a project that was draining me. It was taking up so much of my time. It had really taken over my business. It was basically like an internal project that I was working with another company. And once it was done, I felt amazing about it. I was really proud of it. But at the time, I was really struggling to keep up with all my workload. So because of that, creating content became this chore. Like it was this thing that I had to get done, and my energy around it completely changed. Suddenly I was approaching content creation and like my filming days with a bit of dread and a bit of like, oh, I just need to get this done and get this out of the way. And the problem is that when you approach content creation this way, you normally transfer that energy to the content that you create, right? The vibe. The vibe can be felt through the screen. We think it can't, but it can. I was lower energy. I was trying my best, but I was low energy. I wasn't as enthusiastic, which just meant my content wasn't landing as well. Like it just wasn't as good as it could have been. And that was purely because I was feeling so exhausted and my energy around content creation was just off. So I had to approach that. And how I did that was just by taking a break. And more often than not, that is how you solve that problem. You take a break, and after your break, you come back feeling a lot more energized and a lot more excited to create. And that is exactly what I did. And that's why I feel so much better about it now. Now, there is an important caveat that I just need to wrap up with, and that is that seasonality definitely comes into play here as well. So the months when my content wasn't performing as well were the summer months, and people always say, you know, it's summertime, people want to be out and about, they're not at home on YouTube as much. Completely. That was definitely a factor, but I am a firm believer in not resting on things like that. So if I told myself, oh, it's just the season, I wouldn't have made any of those changes, I wouldn't have looked at my analytics, I wouldn't have realized where I could have improved. And even if my channel may have started to improve naturally in the colder months, it wouldn't have improved anywhere near as much as it did if I didn't take the time out to really figure out how I could improve my channel myself. So yes, seasonality came into play. I just don't like to rest on things like that. Okay, that is it for today's video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please be sure to comment, subscribe, and do all of those things that I'm supposed to ask you to do. If you feel like hanging around, please check out this video. It is all about my top tips for growing on YouTube. I'm sure you're gonna find it super, super useful. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you in my next video.